is whey protein really worth the hype? I mean, there's some seriously overpriced stuff out there. And at the end of the day, like, it's probably best just to get it from real food. But we need to look at whey protein a little bit differently. I don't consider whey protein like a whole food. It is a supplement, but it is one of the most potent ergogenic aids that we could probably take. And when you look at the literature, you can understand when you should be taking it. And I'm going to rope in essential amino acids into this discussion as well, because there are two things, whey protein and essential amino acids, that I've talked about for like over a decade as being essential to like my physique. I don't know if I'd look the way that I look without them. Like, I've strategically implemented them into my life. Let's break down the literature so you can know how to use whey protein and if it's really worth the hype in different scenarios. Proponents of soy protein will tell you that soy protein is just as good as whey. Proponents of casein protein will tell you it's just as good as whey. Well, let's put our money where our mouth is and let's look at this study that actually looked at whey protein versus soy protein versus casein protein. This was published in the Journal of Applied Physiology. And the reason I like this study is because they didn't just measure the amounts of protein, they measured the amounts of available amino acids. So they looked at like, okay, how much do we have to give of this? How much do we have to give of this? And how much do we have to give of this to get the same amount of essential amino acids into a person's body so we can adequately measure? Well, they did just that. And they found that whey protein ended up increasing amino acid levels significantly more than the other groups when you looked at a basic serving size. But that's not even what was the most exciting. They looked at two different scenarios. They looked at rest and post-exercise. At rest, whey protein increased muscle protein synthesis 93% more than casein protein. And at rest, whey protein increased muscle protein synthesis 18% more than soy protein. Well, what's going on here? Well, first, let's look at the after exercise results. After exercise, whey protein increased muscle protein synthesis 122% more than casein, okay? And it increased muscle protein synthesis 31% more than soy protein. I can rest my case here, but you're smart and you want to understand what's going on here. Well, sometimes the rate of absorption matters. So the rate in which we absorb whey protein might be faster than casein. So that kind of makes sense. That's why there's such a large gap between whey protein and casein. Casein has long been known as the protein that you take before bed to like slowly drip out protein. And you know, there's some evidence that that could be beneficial. But soy protein, I mean, proponents of soy protein will tell you until they're blue in the face that it's equally good. And if the essential amino acids are the same and it's a complete protein, then isn't it just as good? Well, it probably has to do with the available leucine. So with this, we have to look at other studies. We look at a study that was published in the journal Nutrition. It looked at BCAAs specifically, but really isolating leucine. What they found is that leucine skyrockets mTOR. And more importantly, it phosphorylates something very important. It's called P70S6K, which is exactly what you want to be activating or phosphorylating, especially post-workout, but throughout the day if you're trying to build muscle, but not just build muscle, recover. Okay, we've heard Paul Saladino talk about the importance of insulin for recovery. I agree with his sentiments, like proper insulin spikes are important. He leverages that through carbohydrates via honey and fruit. I'm a big proponent of that. I don't disagree with that. You know, say what you want about Paul. I agree with that. I think that is important to have appropriate insulin spikes. Paul wouldn't consume whey protein, right? He will just eat animal product, period. Like he won't consume whey. Whey protein can trigger a powerful insulin spike as a result of the leucine, much more so than soy protein, much more so than casein. And when you look at the whole aggregate, you find that, well, this is extremely, extremely important for periodic bouts of muscle building, right? If you are in a heavy phase of building muscle, it might even be advantageous to have multiple shakes throughout the day alongside your whole foods. Why would you ever do that? That sounds terrible. I'm not a fan of adding lots of supplements in, but simply because of the leucine spike and the insulin spike that you get in the muscle protein synthesis. I sip on LMNT electrolytes. I have for the last 7 or 8 years that have been fasting. Really powerful thing to keep you energy, give you this like, I don't know, just a pick-me-up that also curbs your appetite significantly. So that link down below gets you a cool free sample variety pack with any purchase. So 1,000 milligrams sodium, 200 milligrams potassium, 60 milligrams magnesium. You see really the top people in the industry talking about LMNT because it is the best, like as far as the ratios, but realistically the taste. So something that you can consume when you fast, and also the salt can potentially curb your appetite. So this is really powerful stuff. So start your day with just a quick packet of LMNT, or you could have one of their ready to drink sparkling ones. It's a quick way to just, I don't know, have something that tastes good, feels like a soda, but you're not having the drawbacks of a soda. It's just actually helping you with the electrolytes that help you in a fast, and you're still going to be able to keep those insulin levels low. So that link is in the top line of the description, drinklmnt.com/Thomas for LMNT electrolytes. Now hear me out, because I have a different alternative if you don't want to just do whey protein shakes all the time, because I understand that and I don't think it's sustainable. But what I can say here is that when you look at the difference between whey protein concentrate and whey protein isolate is cleaner, purer, going to give you a bigger spike that you can control. Whey protein concentrate still has some of the milk solids in it. Not as big of a spike, but it is a fuller spectrum profile. When you look at what is called the protein digestibility indispensable amino acid score, the DIASS, or even the PDCAS score, these scores do demonstrate quite clearly with data and with machine learning too that, well, the whey protein concentrate is a more bioavailable protein. So over the long term, concentrate might be good, but for more pure anabolic effect in the short term, isolate is good. So what's my suggestion here? Rotate them out. Rotate them out. Okay, EAAs, essential amino acids. These are amino acids we cannot get naturally. We have to get them from the diet. There are literal supplements out there that are essential amino acids. Throw your BCAAs away, because those have branched chain aminos that you can get otherwise. EAAs you need from supplement form. And there's some literature that has suggested that when you take EAAs along with regular protein, you actually can increase the muscle protein synthesis from that protein meal. There was a study published in Frontiers of Physiology that took a look at placebo versus EAA consumption along with resistance training, and they found that EAAs reduced the lactate accumulation, allowing people to train harder and longer, and also increase their muscle contractile strength. But then when we look at a study published in Clinical Nutrition, we find that when subjects were on a 30% deficit, like pretty serious caloric deficit, if they supplemented with EAAs, their rate of muscle protein breakdown was significantly less, and their rate of protein synthesis was significantly higher. Their muscle protein turnover was altered in a way where they preserved more muscle despite being in a heavy deficit. And this is all without even adding calories. EAAs don't even have calories. So if you're in a serious deficit and you're not really worried about a little leucine spike or insulin spike from leucine now and then, sipping on EAAs throughout the day, or more importantly, along with your meals, is one of the most important things you could do. They're so cheap, you could carry them with you, and you have them with your meals to increase the spike at that one defined time. If you only have one period of time in which you can eat meals and get a lot of protein, don't you want maximum protein synthesis out of that meal? One of the most potent things you can do is leveraging whey protein for proper spikes and leveraging essential amino acids for proper spikes. Before you start going down the rabbit hole of peptides, of this, of that, of TRT, all this stuff, like, I'm a fan of. I think it works. I think it's great. Absolutely. But I think there's big levers that you can pull leveraging these inexpensive, legal, very anabolic things like EAAs and whey protein timed appropriately. As always, keep it locked in here on my channel. I'll see you tomorrow.